like a beta angle and a gamma angle, combine your PV cell or a solar collector panel, then we can receive maximum number of lines. That is all the lines whatever is existing, so that will be received by your collector. Same way, if you make the positioning change by making your beta angle 0 but keeping your alpha angle, so in that condition we are not able to receive 100% of input. So it is just in a 70%, that is 9 rays we are collecting out of 12 rays. Similarly, if you go for a complete horizontal plane with beta 0 and as well as the gamma 0, then also you can receive the maximum lines. So next, we have discussed about the magnetic declination, because this is very much important to decide how to place that solar collector. So yesterday we discussed about the calculation part also. So if it is moved 17-degree north, we can place it in both the versions, like you can connect that angle in terms of west or in terms of east. So that is given as 17 east in facing true north or true north in 17-degree west. So you can install this as 197-degree east, so, and another is 163-degree west. So you can do these two combination for installing it. Depending upon the place, you are nearer to the east position or west position, you can make an inclination. And this magnetic declination is very, very important to place the solar collectors. We are moving to the technology, that is PV technology. Where we are going to study the major concept, and of course it is very much needed for us to know what are the different types of PV cells are available, emerging technologies which we are using. I think today in I have seen the seminar topics and the people are more concentrated about solar cells. Someone has given us plastic solar cell. So we are moving with the different version, but of course it is completely old as you compare with the new technology what we are using present. This is old itself, but still we will come to know what and all was there, how it is evaluated year by year. So that being given here. So solar cells are known as photovoltaic cells. We are all familiar with the term PV. Device that produces electricity when exposed to sunlight, means it is one of the device where it's going to do the conversion of your light energy into, maybe you can convert it as a heat, but normally PV cell is particularly for electricity, converting your light energy into electrical energy. So they given a brief history about it. In 1921, Albert Einstein won the Nobel Prize in Physics for his discovery of the photoelectric effect. That is the scientific basis of a solar cell. It means evaluation started at 1921. You can see here. And solar cells were first developed in the 1950 for the use in space exploration. Space exploration. I hope I got a topic called solar-based satellite. You can consider this portion. From that day, they started up working on getting the energy from solar to Earth in a variety of ways. So, which are all the cells, which are all the semiconductor devices are responsible for converting that. In that evaluation, they started up digging the source and conversion energy. They're ideal for this application because they're reliable, which for this use it is almost limitless supply. And in the 20th century, the solar cells are an increasingly attractive energy sources considering the problem posed by the greenhouse gas emission and dwindling fossil fuel energy reserves. Of course, right? Why we are going for solar energy means this is the major problem we people are facing, and now, of course, we are getting a complete live examples. How much we are suffering, how much we are struggling to get oxygen bags for the survival. Actually, I've seen one statement today. So 10 years before, I got 10 years before, we were just buying a water cans, and that time we say purified water, we are getting it. We are happy, okay, we are buying water. But now we started buying oxygen. You just think about your future life in your houses. As we are using a gas cylinder, same way we have to use a oxygen cylinder also for the survival of life, not for getting a money or being happy. Just for survival we need to go for it. So this was a problem happening now, and we are finding the live situation also. And they're also popular because they are very versatile and can be used on so small scale, that is like your houses power a single device such as remote telecommunication, repeater station, as well as for the largest. Means the solar is not limited only for large sector and not limited for only small sector, but you can use in both the ways. Rural area, first of all, I said remote areas we have planned. Remote area, how to get electricity supply, because when you can't transmit it, when you can't transmit the power from your generating station where the cost is very huge, then you can use the solar. for the per capita, then it is necessary. So people started thinking about the generation of power. Means generation is just utilization for household appliances. They started up in a small scale, but now we people are thinking about the huge scale of power generation, and of course it is happening. And next, what are all the semiconductors? Because as we said, it is a device. Solar collector is a device. Photovoltaic cell is a device your light energy into electrical energy. But which material you have to use? There are a number of semiconductors are available. I think from the starting of B, we are very familiar with the term called silicon and germanium. Is it right? Because we people are started studying what is diode, what are the different types of diode, how it will work, and then transistor, then BJT, MOSFET, IGBT. So many advanced power electron devices we started up thinking. But whenever we heard the term called semiconductor, people will say the term called silicon, germanium. Of course, they are the existing semiconductors which is going to give the required output in a high efficient way. So solar cells are made from semiconducting materials. So semiconducting materials or the conduct electricity under certain conditions. So they are neither insulator nor conductor. Nothing special to say this, right? Semiconductor means it comes between both insulation and conductor. And most commonly used semiconductor, silicon and germanium. But here, particularly for your PV cell, we prefer silicon because to improve its conductivity, it is often combined with other elements, and we know that as a doping. So, of course, doping, you know that because if you get any crude oil or pure form of a ore, I cannot use that. Then ore will be extracted. From there, you are extracting iron, copper, gold, whatever it is, you are extracting. So, first from whatever you are getting, it is not so efficient. Or else, if you think about in your electromagnetic system, so whatever the magnet we are getting from the earth, that is not so strong for that to implement in your motors. You have to go for artificially implementing that magnet to be more strength to use it in your machines. So same way here, individual semiconductor will not going to give the complete output, so that you can go for a doping also. Then semiconductors are frequently used in electronics, including PV cells, light emitting diodes, and microchips, such as those used in computers. I think some of the topics, whatever I read now, I think almost nowadays people are working on it still more for the betterment. Next, mainstream technologies. Mainstream technologies, which are all we are using, particularly for PV. We are concentrating only on PV cell. So we'll see what and all we are using it. Silicon is most widely used material in solar cell production. Most commercial solar cells are made up of silicon. Just a minute. Sir, ಏನು ಹೇಳಿ? Okay, silicon is the most widely used material in solar cell production. Most commercial solar cells are made from silicon. Of course, everyone should accept this because most of the cells, most of the things what you purchase as a PV panels, they are made up of silicon. Then silicon is extracted from silicon dioxide. It is just how we people are getting that silicon. That example has been given here, and we also know that as a quartzite. So quartzite is a crystal or quarried and refined to extract silicon from solar cell manufacture. So it looks like a chemistry. Of course, it is necessary to know how we are extracting the silicon. So quartzite crystals are also a major component of sand. However, regular sand is too impure to be used in this process. Of course, right? You'll say we are finding sand. Of course, sand is also too costly because whoever is constructing house, you know that how much price for that and how illegal activities are happening for sand. But that sand is not good for taking off your silicon material. So that should have a quartzite crystal. Next is silicon is a versatile material, a metalloid. It exhibits many of the properties of the metal because it should come between both insulation and conducting activity. So that's what it is. It is very versatile, metalloid, and it exhibits the properties of metal, and but also exhibits some properties of non-metal. So that we call it as a semiconducting material. Then what are the different types of silicon solar cells are available and we are using in our application? So we are having number of types you can see here. First is monocrystalline, polycrystalline, and amorphous silicon. So mono means the name says mono means single. Poly, it's a number. Amorphous, of course, there's a technology how we are utilizing. Means if you are having a bulge earlier, see, when the computer was discovered, we know that what is the size of it and how huge space it was requiring. And now present day, how much we are using it, what is the space, something we can carry in pocket also, that kind of laptops we are getting it. So that changes we are getting it. So the main types we are given as mono, poly and amorphous. So before that, we'll see what exactly the solar cell efficiency, then we'll go for the different types of a system. So efficiency is what? Efficiency is a unitless measurement used to indicate how well a device changes from one form of energy to another form. So everyone knows, right? Efficiency. Anybody have you represented the unit for efficiency? We just say 90%, 20%, 30%, always it is in percent, but nowhere we have specified watt, amps, voltage, nothing we have used because efficiency is one of the unitless measurement. So efficiency is mentioned a great deal in connection with solar cells. So it is important to understand what is meant by it and what is actually entails in relation to the operation of the cell. So we'll see what is cell efficiency. Cell efficiency means we are giving some input. From that, how much output you are getting it, how much percentage of output we are getting at final for the given input. So that makes your cell efficiency. Efficiency means output by input. Always we calculate output by input, whatever it is. Here, the amount of electrical power coming out of the cell per amount of light energy that hits the cell. Light energy is input and electricity is the output. Output by input you're going to calculate. And this will be measured at standard test condition. So you can say that as STC because this is a environmental criteria where you have to consider about your intensity of the light and air mass and temperature. All these three should be always considered. So we say standard condition. If something, if you written keeping constant, keeping maintaining this temperature, Kelvin's temperature, all these things will be the specified parameter. So similarly, if you want to say the cell efficiency of the solar panel, then we have to consider major standard test condition. First one, 25 degrees Celsius ambient temperature. Temperature is 25 degrees Celsius and light intensity is 1000 watt per meter square. Two conditions. One more is there, air mass. I'll just tell you because air mass already we have studied in the last case. It is 1.5. So air mass should be considered 1.5. Then SL will rarely experience STC in the field, so it will rarely perform as at rated efficiency. Efficiency and power outputs are related as follows. First is efficiency is equal to power output by power input. Please note down this problem first. Note down this problem. Value of power in radians. Radians is given as 1000 watt per meter square and they're given if the cell efficiency is 22% and it has an area of 0.2 meter square. Then how much is the power output we are getting it that we need to calculate. So power output is what? If it is nothing but efficiency into power in. So or else you can write it as efficiency is equals to power output by power in. But in the question they have already given what is the irradiance as well as what is the one more is what cell efficiency. Cell efficiency 22% they are given and area is also given. So efficiency into the irradiance into how much area you have used to get it. The area will makes you a sense of giving a like getting a input light and same wise getting a output also. So 0.22 into 1000 watt per meter square into zero point 0.2 meter square will give you the total output of a cell. So 0.2 meter square is the actual panel size and it is getting a minimum radiance of 1000 watt per meter square and you are achieving efficiency of 0.22. So total output you are getting as 44 watt from that solar panel. So same kind you can change the value and you can find it that is efficiency into power. So multiplied that is efficiency into irradiance into what is the area you have chosen. Next, module efficiency. So efficiency of a module is measured the same way as that of a cell. The difference being the inclusion of losses from reflection and shading of the glass as well as few other minor losses. So each cell produces 44 watt. But module is it is a complete package. Complete package means you'll have a number of cells and that will be bounded in a one module and output will not be exactly the same as the sum of this individual cells. Of course, when you say it is a module, definitely the losses will be there. Then as I was saying, reflection will be there and shading. So if you consider one panel during the movement of a sun, sometimes it is complete peak, all will be getting a proper input. Means all are receiving the same amount of solar energy. And again, the time goes on decreases, half cell will be getting more energy, half cell will be getting less energy. So cell efficiency of the cell production is varies. It is not same 44 watt for all the 10. Let us assume 10 cells are connected. So 10 are getting 44 at one peak time, and after that some 6 are getting 44, remaining are getting some 30. So same way reverse process can also happen. That's what you cannot say that output will be the same or standardized. It will be varied. So few other minor losses will also be considered when you want to calculate about a complete modular efficiency. Next, we'll go with types monocrystalline. You just try to note down the important titles, because this is one of the important questions. They can ask you the differences or comparison, or write a short note about the cells, silicon cells, so PV cells. Note down monocrystalline. So here highlighted part is how this crystal is made up of, and what is the percentage, what is the input and what is the output, and how much presently we people are using it based on a efficiency. So this will be considered for each and every type of a PV cell. First is monocrystalline. Mono, as I said, it is single. So these solar cells are produced from a single silicon seed crystal. What is that? Single silicon seed crystal. It is placed in a crucible of a molten silicon and drawn out slowly while rotating. It is like a single piece. So in AEC, I think you people have studied crystal oscillator. Crystal oscillator. Single piece, you're getting like a tablet. So same way here also monocrystal, it is one of the single seed crystal which is used for getting the output from light to electrical energy. So in this manner, it is possible to produce a larger pure crystalline single ignot, which is then sliced into thin wafers. So that can be, first you'll get it in a one form, that is completely single ignot will be available, and that is depending upon the requirement and the demand. You can slice it off with the slices of like a thin wafers. And this monocrystalline silicon solar cells are the most efficient and generally the most expensive. See here we have two answers. One is, of course, why you need to go for monocrystal. It is highly efficient, losses are less, but at the same time its cost is more expensive. Although the higher initial cost may be justified by their increased power output, as they are highly efficient. Because if you say in efficiency is too good, so we people will think, why can't we invest on this? Instead of doing 10 different kinds of installation, in one installation, if you're getting a good output, then we can go for it. But the thing is, we always think more expensive, is it necessary to go for it, or else some other thing can be selected. So but when you consider monocrystalline, this is more efficient, more expensive, and you can say it as the increased power output, as they are highly efficient compared to the silicon technologies. And the you can see what is the highest efficiency recorded by this monocrystalline is 25%. Silicon cells is 25%. And commercially, whatever we are using, and we are getting an output of 22.5%, and completely finished modules with efficiency of 19%. And maybe you may get a question that your efficiency is very less, but still they are saying more efficient. This is not like your transformer to get 99.9% of output. These are all electronic devices where you are having a much losses, and efficiency will be maximum calculated for 25%, very less quality. So 25% for a monocrystalline, that is like ideal case. When you say theory, I say 25%, but when you have started practically using it, efficiency is hardly 90%. That is also, they say it is the highest efficient one. Then we'll go for multicrystalline or polycrystalline. Please note on these 2 points: high efficient, more expensive. At the same time, you can write production being with efficiency of 22.5%, and the complete model on working on live condition, it is 19%. Write down these points. Okay, next is multicrystalline or polycrystalline silicon. Multi means number. Instead of one, you are going to have a number of solar cells. Multicrystalline or polycrystalline silicon solar cells are manufactured by block casting molten steel silicon. So they're not made from a single crystal ignot, but rather from one composed of many small crystals. It is not one a single piece, but it is composed of number of crystals to form a single module, single solar PV cell module. So which grow in random orientation as the molten material solidifies. You can keep it in different positions. So of course, you can take an example as your normal solar panels, what you say in day-to-day life. So this produces lower efficiency than monocrystalline cells. However, it is very popular technology or technique because it is easier and less expensive. Easier in the sense installation and maintenance, less expensive. Initial installment also very less, and after that also operation and maintenance also less. So we got two plus point, but except the efficiency. But efficiency is less compared to mono, but it is not too worst. So multicrystalline and monocrystalline silicon solar cells are those most commonly used in PV arrays. So depending upon the application, you just using for remote area, then I can go for monocrystal and I can get the output. But if you are planning to get a power output from a power station, then I'll just think about what kind I can use it. Is it only mono? Is it only multi? That can be decided, or combination of both can be used. And commercially available multicrystalline solar cells can now reach the laboratory efficiency. Means while testing, when you're manufacturing, you're getting 18%. But when you're using in a live, in a practical implementation, it is hardly 17.84%. But this is 19 and this is 17.8. So there is a small variation of production efficiency from a multicrystalline cell. Just note down these points. Block costing molten silicon. Wherever I highlighted in red color, you can note it down as a point or you can remember it. Hope it is done. I'll just go with the picture to show how the monocrystalline silicon will be. So this is the single crystal silicon ignite is drawn from the molten silicon. So just a picture you can see single piece, how it looks. So this is second case, multi or poly, as well as being used in a rooftop and grid connected application. 22% efficient monocrystalline PV cells used by Sunwift, the winning solar car at the 2009 World Solar Challenge held in Australia. So this is costlier. This is not multi, but we are having multiple solar panel connection, but the cells which are made up of monocrystalline. And they said we are getting 22% efficient output of monocrystalline cells, and this was used in competition. This is wind also. It is in 2009 World Solar Challenge. So normally every year they will have a competition about electric vehicles using solar panel and all. I think in our college also they have competed last year, they like a year back also I think. So this is like which one is efficient, how much efficiently it can run. See electric scooters we are having it. So they will see the efficiency with normal diesel or petrol engine vehicles. So this is multicrystalline. So everyone has seen this multicrystalline cells are easily identifiable by their distinct grain. So just to make a comparison here, you can find the small changes about mono and multi. Simple layers are there, easily identifiable by the distinct grain structure, which gives a glittering effect in sunlight. So this is for multi. Then we are going for thin film solar cells. But I have told mono, multi, and amorphous. Which is that amorphous? We'll see that. So thin film solar cells are made from material suitable for deposition over large areas. And they need only about 1 micron thick. So what is that called? Thin film. So what is the thickness they are using? 1 micron thick. So thin film, a dot such as covers a 615 microns, and multicrystalline and monocrystalline silicon solar cells are normally about 300 micron thick. So when you compare the thickness of a cell, normal of mono and multi will be 300 microns, but your like a thin film solar cells are very small, 1 micron thick. So increasingly material prices and high worldwide demand for affordable photovoltaic have led to increased interest in thin film solar cells. Thin film in size and as well as the installment all will be considered, and afford like easily affordable and easily carryable. All these things will be taken care for saying thin film solar cells, and they are less expensive to manufacture than crystal solar cells. One is the advantage, they're less expensive, and a lot of research has been directed towards increasing efficiencies. And the current laboratory record for thin film solar cells is being 20.1%. Of course, it's too good as compared to your multicrystalline. Monocrystalline, it is 22, and a thin film, they are tested up to 20.1. However, commercially available thin film modules are between 6 to 12%. So, this is the reality we are facing it between 6 to 12% when you implement in a practical way. So, thin films cells are being used more and more frequently in buildings and are often used for gadgets. I will show you the example of gadgets such as solar powered watches and calculator. Hope you have used this kind, and now people are having like digital watches where we are using this thin film solar cells as a input, because you cannot use any batteries, charging and removal of a battery, go with a new one, nothing we are doing it. So we are using some gadgets by use solar powered. The most common materials we are used as amorphous silicon. So that's what it is called, amorphous solar cells or thin film solar cells. So still silicon, but in a different form. So they are given different names: cadmium, telluride, copper, indium, dyslyndia. So these are all like chemical names you have to remember. And in amorphous silicon, the molecules are randomly aligned instead of having a fixed crystalline structure, as seen in mono and polysilicon. And the internal structure being similar to that of polycrystalline silicon. However, they are very different materials. And as your thin film solar cells are well suited to high volume manufacturing. Means if you want to produce for a huge range, you can use this. And they are made using the chemical vapor deposition process. This is the chemical process, how we are doing it. See, yeah, we had a subject called electroplating and all. Chemistry, if you studied. So how this will be coated? See, if you go to any shop, if you go to gold shop, 1 gram gold will be available. 1 gram gold means the manufacturing is used by copper or some other material, but over that surface where they are given gold coated. How it will be done? That is of electro deposition. The same way here also they are using chemical vapor deposition process, where the material is deposited on large area of materials. Means coating. You need to have a panel, right? Where panel should be in a position to receive the sunlight. So each and every place it should be coated up. So example, coated glass, flexible plastic, or stainless steel sheet. So this is with respect to thin film or amorphous. Mainly amorphous silicon has been used. That's what it's called, amorphous silicon solar cells. So this is the picture which represents amorphous silicon. You can see amorphous silicon modules are easily distinguished. You can see no lines, nothing is there. So multi, you had a number of lines, horizontal, vertical sections, you can see it. But here amorphous silicon modules are easily distinguished from crystalline modules by their dark and uniform color, but they also look like non-silicon thin film modules. Next, we are having a comparison. Please note down this table and mark it as important. Comparison of different solar technology. Don't get confused. Different technologies are there. Again, in the future, we have one more comparison table, but all normally people will mesh up with those things. So first we'll see what are the major comparison. Cell material, efficiency, surface area, how much you are using to get that output. And I think same it is. We'll see. So first is monocrystalline. Efficiency 14 to 20. Poly 13 to 15. Amorphous 6 to 9. So amorphous, as I said, different materials can be used for making a thin film solar cells. So they taken all the three: amorphous, cadmium, and CIS and CIGS thin film. So efficiency wise, 6 to 9 for amorphous, cadmium 9 to 11, and one last one is 10 to 12%. But how much area, surface area required for 1 kilowatt per in meters required? So 5 to 7. Area is just 5 to 7. You can achieve 14 to 20. 6.5 to 8.5, you'll achieve 13 to 15. 11 to 16, your area is increasing, but your output is less. Similarly, 9 to 11, 9 to 11, of course, the same. The area is also same, and percentage is also approximately that much itself. And the last one is 8.5 to 10 meters square. Output is 10 to 12%. So when you compare all this, better is polycrystalline, because poly with a medium range, 6.5 to 8.5. You can achieve medium efficiency throughout. So square feet wise, it is 54 to 70, 72 to 83, 110 to 170. Amorphous actually, it requires more area for very minimum output, is it? So 98 to 110 and 90 to 110, 108 feet square. So this is the comparison, but try to remember this efficiency and as well as the squared area. Next cell. From PV cell, you will not get anything. You need to have something to receive the output. Of course, light is incidenting directly on the solar panel, fine. But you're saying you're getting the electrical energy from that, converted electrical energy, that is a form of DC, you're going to get it. But how you're going to receive? Will you go on take it or any bucket you'll keep it to collect the current? No, we need to have some device or some connection should be done to receive the energy. So for either PV cells or module to work, they need electrical connection. It's a common sense. Okay, a solar cell has electrical connection provided by metal conducting strips. Simply you think about your diode. You have a semiconductor material will be connected by two contact. We call that as a ohmic resistances, where it is going to give the power. Power in the sense current. Similarly, here also a solar cell has electrical connections provided by metal conducting strips that collects electrons produced in the cell and allow this current to flow through the circuit. So that is called contact. Next, these metal strips are known as contacts, suppose, and there are several different, you can, as we are saying machines, brushes we are using, and now we are using brushless contacts also. Brushless machines are happening, but how to receive the current, how we are getting the current, that is very, very important, as we have different technologies also existing. The most common way to manufacture solar cells is by screen printing, where the metal is simply printed onto the cell. Same as your PCB boards. You're all seen PCB boards, right? You're using it for your projects also. It is just like silver foil lines will be moving on with a green board. Same as it is, you're printing on a PV cell, like a printed PV cell will be available. And this method is very reliable and is typically applied to solar cells producing efficiency of about 12 to 15%. Means it says that you're not going to use any external cables. How you're doing in a lab experiments, getting number of wires are connecting each and every machine or devices, meters, all we are doing it manually. But here also you do manually, but that is like in a soldered paste where you don't have to find any cables. Instead of that, you're going to see the silver foiled lines. Then several factors need to be balanced when you using screen printing. This is a technology, of course. And if there is too much space between the contacts, the cell will be less efficient. Of course, when you don't do proper connection, proper soldering, like if your mobile charges and all cables, if it go out or your headphones, so there is a thin connection. You have observed or not, I don't know. There's thin connection. If you don't do it proper soldering, then you cannot hear it. Less voice or a disturbance or happen. So there is like not proper connected. So cell will be less efficient and output will be very less. And if the area covered by the contacts is too large, the cell will receive less sunlight and produce less power. So this is one of the drawback we are finding it here. Just a minute. Reduce the size. Okay, so here, if the area covered by the contacts is too large, means compact, completely compact, then the cell will receive less sunlight and produces less power, means overlapping. If you overlapped, each cell will not receive 100%, so that your output will be less. And contacts to be effective, the top of the cell often needs to be treated. It is like your solar panels which you are using for a water heater, boiling of a water heater. So anything dust, if it is covered on the surface, because it is exposed to the environment, it is not kept indoor, is it? So if it is exposed, and let us assume some dry leaves are placed on the panel, or else dust is placed on the panel, what happens? The efficiency of that cell will going to reduce, and definitely it affects the final output in such a way that it is absorption of a high energy blue light is reduced. So that it is very much necessary to give a maintenance to the solar panel and to have a proper contacts. So you can receive maximum output as per the given input, and don't overload the cells so that you cannot receive much output, and try to maintain the surface clean. So we have an example here. The metal contacts on the polycrystalline cells are clearly visible. Hope you can see the silver lines. So that silver lines are acting as contacts in poly. Is it visible? This line, polycrystalline lines, thin silver color lines are existing. This is contacts of polycrystalline. Similarly, if you take Front and back of sun power rear back contact monocrystalline silicon solar cell. How it looks. Backside it will be completely normal, and outside you will see some small lines. Single piece of it is like a single chocolate, dynamic chocolate. How it you will get a box kind of. So same way your monocrystalline will go to. But this is the construction. P-type metal, and you can see oxide N plus. All this is screen printed solar cell and buried contact to solar cell. How it will do. So this is screen printed. You have a electrodes plus and minus, and there the operation going to happen. And this is one of the data table, because in this book you'll have a number of data where of course when you purchase anything you'll get some of the books, small books, how to operate, how to use, what is the warranty, each and every bit they will give, how to use the keypad, how to use the setting, everything will be given, right? Same way here also they are given the features of a solar panel, that is 210-watt polycrystalline solar module. Just read it if possible. I will just try to enlarge this. Hope you can read it. If you purchase anything, definitely it will be given. Any electronic, electrical goods, whatever you get, they will give you what and all. See, 0.5 watt guaranteed 0 to 5 watt positive power output tolerance, ensuring high reliability. Then bus bar, 3 bus bar design enhances cells reliability and reduces series resistance for large fill factor. Then excellence performance under low light environment. Then entire model certified to withstand high wind losses. Of course, right? Wind is also going to affect. If high wind comes, your solar panel installation will be goes off. It can fly in the air. And the warranty, you can see here, features first point. Second, warranty, 25-year. Based on nominal power, means you should not have a much fluctuation. And this warranty is very, very important for solar cells, because your initial investment is very high. And output, how much year you can get it. And when you started up getting a profit, that is too much. So 25-year transferable power output warranty. 5-year, 95. After 5 years, you should get minimum 95. After 12 years, you should get 90%. After 18 years, you should get 85%. And after 25, if you complete 25 years of installation of a power plant, then you should get minimum 80% output. That is a warranty given from the company for your solar cell. And you can see IEC certified. So many symbols has been given, certified by Underwriters Laboratory. Okay, so just read out